Hi, let's paint a shadowy reflection scene. Yay, watercolors. I have my palette over here. I'm not gonna keep it in the frame just so you can see what I'm doing, but really all you need is almost just one color. It's gonna be one color that is going to you're going to add a lot of water to it, and then you're going to have it as a darker color. You could do this. You could technically do like black if you wanted. You could do a dark blue. You could mix up your own color that you want to use. Right now, I'm kind of mixing, I don't know. I used like my dark, I think this is my ultramarine blue. And then I'm just going to mix in some of my, oh God, I can't remember the name of this, people. Sap green. Oh no, I think it's darker than sap green, but you can kind of see that it's a little, I want it to be really dark is what I'm getting at. I'm going to add some indigo from over here. Really, I just want a super, super dark bluish, greenish, blackish color. However, even though I just mixed this, what we are going to be doing is doing several layers of, it's almost going to look like fog. So it's going to be several layers. And you know what? I think I am going to can it on the reflection part. I know I just said reflection, but I think instead we're going to just do kind of like a foggy, almost embankment. So even though I just mixed that color, I'm getting a bunch of water on my brush and I'm adding it to this color like crazy. Do you see here? I will show you this. So I'm just adding a lot of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up water on my brush and just get a little bit of this. And you should see and feel how watery it is. Like it shouldn't be this opaque outer ring. It should be this really light color here. And we are going to do some incredibly light, kind of like pine trees, like a pine grove. So I'm just going to start, I'm using my size 12 round Heritage Princeton Heritage brush. And I'm going to start here, just do a thin, a lot of this is going to be covered up. It doesn't matter if you do a good job or not. This is darker than I want, but I'm only going to pick up color once. Okay, so to do, this is almost just like a silhouette of a pine tree. So I start by drawing my, my just straight trunk, and then I just sort of pull out. And it, you know, really doesn't matter. A lot of this you're probably not even going to ever see because it's going to be covered over by darker ones. This is darker than I want it to be. I'm trying to grab some of the color from it and move it around. And I'm going to come over here and immediately draw another one. I'm only going to dip I'm not going to dip my pen, my brush in again. I'm only using this color. I won't really want it to be as light as possible. These are just going to be some quick, it's okay if they touch. In fact, you probably want them to touch. Some are in front of each other. Some are behind each other. Have I mentioned, it doesn't matter. These are going to be the lightest trees that you're not even going to see because we're going to layer more in front of them. I'm going to pick up even more color from here so I can continue. Maybe I want them to kind of go down like this. I am going to get a new arm so that it doesn't fake. So thank you for putting up with that. Hopefully you're looking more at your own paper. Maybe there's even another one back here. You want to leave some white space so you can tell it's a separate tree, but, and again, I really want these to be light. I drew one here. And if some are lighter than others, that's fine. We'll just assume they're a little farther back because they're more in the mist. I did not draw a straight trunk at all, did I? It's really not straight. Now, if you're getting to the point where I am, where you almost have nothing on your brush, certainly you can go back and pick up some more color. Just try to keep it very, very light. You can always just add more water to your brush and then pick up a tiny bit of color, and that'll give you more movement. The wetter your brush is, you know, the easier it is to move it around. That's way too much. I'm going to get some water and I'm going to sploosh that around. But yes, if you can get it to be almost almost like a whisper of a color, by all means do that, because these really are going to be just a whisper in the background ultimately once they dry. Just let those all come together. I'm going to try to take some of the color out of this one because I got a little overzealous there. I'm not trying to be super careful here because these trees are going to be more of a whisper than a shout, and you're really hardly going to see them. I'm just kind of doing a varying sizes. Still trying to take a little color out of there. I'm going to have to grab more color though. So I'm dipping my brush in the lightest part of that color I mixed and then going back and putting water on my brush just to keep it really light. Yes, I'm getting messier as I go. I see that. Just like when I start out, like that has a pretty clean line and these are like, it's like when I start out a new journal, I'm like, I'm going to write really, really carefully in here. And like, my handwriting is going to be so good. And that lasts for like a week at the most. I am more of a sketcher sometimes than a detail person. I do want the tops to look reasonable though. But I think one of the great things about watercolors is the way that you can, you know, they can be just, you know, the suggestion of a branch or a tree or a leaf. It doesn't have to be that exact thing. All right, so now we have basically our forest of trees. What will be in the foreground? I haven't figured that out yet. Originally, I was thinking some sort of reflection situation on a pond. Maybe I'll still do that, like if they were on kind of like a snowy bank and then there was a reflection of a snowy bank. Maybe it would be like, maybe the area down by the water would be a little essence of color, which of course we could go back later. And then, you know, you're not really even going to see, like, you could kind of do like the essence of some shadows down here. But really, as far as reflections go, these are the trees that are going to be in the way back, so you wouldn't really even see them. So we'll be more specific with our details in the future. Or maybe, I don't know if I like that. Maybe I just want them to be on like a bank. I don't know, people. Is this how I normally paint? I don't know. I usually have some sort of vision in mind. I don't know what my vision is. We're just going to put it like that for now. These need to really dry completely before we can do the next layer. So you might want to pause this here, let your stuff dry, and then when it's done drying, you can come back and do the next layer with me. So I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, now that this is completely dry, we can add the next layer. I've done quite a bit of painting between this when we worked on this before. So I don't think I have this color mixed up anymore. So I'm just going back and making another dark, it's sort of like a mixture of dark blue, kind of dark green. And now this is going to be sort of the middle color. So I made the color, I'll show you. I made the color, but now I'm going to add water to it just by putting my brush into my water and then adding water to it. I want it to be these look, you know, like they're in a fog. So it's going to be clearer than that, but it's not going to be super, super dark because our final layer is going to be super dark. So I'm going to draw a tree here and see what happens. So I'm just holding the very point of my brush. I don't know if I have enough on here to really make it go fluidly. Just the point, and I'm attempting to draw relatively straight down. And again, I'll probably start out quite careful. And this looks quite dark, but as I pull the color out, it will probably not be quite so dark. And the idea here is that we're doing like layers of trees that are closer and farther. So these back here that we've already done are the ones that are back, sort of disappearing into the mist. And then these, there's still a bit of mist, but it's not quite as hard to see these trees. And then the front layer that we do will be quite dark. It's not gonna have a lot of detail though. We're not gonna do any like specific detail. Okay, that's funny. It started out kind of blue and it went kind of green as I was going. Okay, so I don't know. I want to make sure I can still see these trees behind, and then we are going to do one more layer. So I'm not going to go crazy here, or so I think. Same thing here. We'll just draw, you know, we're in a pine forest here. I don't know if we'll even end up seeing this one because it's so low, but perhaps. I don't have this completely planned out. Sometimes I plan things out more than others. I think I want like a tall thing here, but maybe just with a few branches up top. Maybe I won't fill it all in. Because sometimes, you know, the tree might not be so full. And again, a lot of this will be covered up. I do definitely not take my time as much down the bottom here, but I should in case these show through. That's really funny. That one turned out so blue and those other ones are greenish. I'm adding a little bit of water to my mixture just to make sure that I'm keeping it, you know, pretty light. I'm gonna put one here. I'm gonna do some straight across kind of. There might be more than one kind of evergreen tree here, and some evergreen trees are more of a back and forth like this than a always down. If ever you have no idea what I'm talking about, it's most likely because I cannot form words and sentences when I'm painting. I really just can't. I could not play Wordle right now. I would not be able to think of any words, I think. I made that a little too dark right there. I'm just going to try to grab some of that. But then I need a bit more to get all the way to the bottom. And I am just going to leave that opening there because we'll probably put a darker tree. I still don't exactly know what we're doing here. We'll figure that out eventually though. We don't have to know everything that's going to happen right in this moment, do we? No, we do not. I don't know what that is. I'm going to leave it and hope for the best. Do another one here, maybe. I like that one, so I'm going to do another kind of back and forthy sort of one like that. Maybe it's like a kind of a hemlock or something. Not that I know the names of most trees. I just was painting one of these the other day. I was out on the Blue Ridge Parkway and I saw this particular kind shaped tree, and I think, although perhaps I'm completely wrong because I live on the East Coast. Do we have hemlock? Well, I don't live on the East Coast. I live in the mountains in North Carolina. But it looked, when I tried to find pictures so I could get the shape for a painting, it looked to me like it was a hemlock. But perhaps those are only in the West Coast. I really don't know. All right. So you can see how these trees look like they are closer to the front. Like we're looking into a foggy forest. I don't know what this is gonna look like. Maybe do some up. Sometimes the pine needles will face up before they kind of get heavier and start to get weighed down. Some of them have little, you know, needles coming off of them. And then I'm going to do one or two more over here, and then I'm going to leave it, and then we're going to do some closer to the foreground. Dark, like very dark. as our front layer. I'm doing the same thing where these are going to start kind of on the upward trajectory and then kind of drop down. That's kind of dark. I'm pulling some of the color down. Okay, and a final. Final one over here, I guess. The hardest part is getting that first straight line. And I'm holding my brush at this kind of sideways angle so I can do the more hemlock kind of look. Would this happen in real life? I don't know. Would these kinds of trees be together? I don't know. I live in a world where I paint things that make me happy and hopefully make at least a couple other people happy. And, you know, if an arborist wants to disagree with me, that is fine. All right, good. So now we've got the second layer and we just have to let this dry completely before we can do the third layer and maybe think about finishing off that bottom. So I'll see you when this dries. Okay, let's paint this final part. I've mixed up a really, really dark blue, green, black. You can, sorry, try not to be distracted by all of that. So these are gonna be in the foreground, up close front. I'm probably gonna have them come lower than these just because they're even closer. I don't exactly know. I guess if I wanna work this way so my hand doesn't get in there. Do one right here. I do want to be able to see the layers, so I don't want to completely paint over everything else by any means. I want to be able to see it. So let's do some sideways hemlock kind of deal here. And if I'm calling it the wrong kind, sorry. If you know what it really is. It really is okay with me to be able to see a lot through there, as if you were really looking in the woods, you would see a lot of different stuff happening. I guess I'm gonna assume this is like a snowy bank. I'll load my brush back up. I'm gonna have to make more of this color because I do not have enough. And then, do I want these to be right on top of each other? I think I want there to be like a tree right here to like there, and more of a, I have a little bit too much on my brush, that's why I'm starting down there. Okay, and more of a traditional kind of evergreen shape here is what I'm going for. So the branches are going up a bit at the top, and then they're gonna kind of get more like maybe level here at the middle. I'm tapping some color, some dark color into the middle there. I know it's all dark, but some parts are a little bit lighter than others. Branches down low are heavy, so they're gonna fall forward, or I guess I should say down, although some of them would be coming forward towards you, like so. Okay. So once we put that one in, you can really see how doing the shadowy ones in the back This has really created, you've really got a lot of depth now. I'm gonna mix up a little bit more of my really dark color because I didn't do enough. Again, I'm just mixing a dark blue, a dark green, and then I'm actually adding some black to it. Definitely want a tree here. It's a little funky there, huh? If your brush is a little wet, it's hard to make super fine lines. That's okay. We'll just make this kind of a messier. I lost my words. Just a messier, maybe a little bit tree, or maybe they're all messy to you. I don't know. I do kind of want this one to look like it's behind this one, so I'm going to stop just short of, I don't want it to cross over that one. Even though the colors are very similar, I do want it to look like it's behind it. I think I'm going to leave a little bit of space so you can see these two. And I think I'm gonna do one up close here. Maybe one that goes pretty much all the way to the top and then comes down pretty close. Like maybe this one's really in the foreground. So even though you're going back and forth on either side of this trunk, a real tree would have some, oh my gosh, with the words, what are they called? Like branches coming off towards you and off to the side. So it would look kind of thick in the middle. I kind of like to pretend that I'm, can draw in 3D. I don't want that area to be too sparse looking. So it's like I might draw like one almost straight up like that, because in real life, they're gonna go in all directions, not just, it's not like a flat two-dimensional tree. Be sure to go back frequently and load up your brush, since you want this to be quite dark. When you're doing these trees, if you started to run out of color, it didn't really matter too much because you wanted it to be a little bit more translucent. Look, I thought of a word while I was painting. Translucent. And then I like to step back and look every so often. I feel like this one, I want it to be a little bit broader at the bottom. So I'm gonna just add a little depth, width and depth. Make the inside a little bit thicker, look like there's a bunch of branches. I want this area specifically to look a little denser, wider really. Wider is what I'm going for. Okay, good. And I really could leave it like this, but I do think I'm going to do one more back here. Maybe that's like It's maybe not as close as these, but it's still more in the foreground, like here. Maybe like that. Maybe it'll be another hemlock type tree. Once again, I want it to be behind that tree, so I'm not gonna do any overlapping strokes there. There you go. Something you can do now, I'm just gonna pretend they're on a snowy bank. So I've gotten my brush wet, and I'm gonna go back to this first tree. I'm gonna brush the wet brush right here along the bottom and just do like, kind of like the essence of a little tree shadow. I'm gonna do the same thing here. And do the same thing here. I need to get more water. Just to, you know, just for these that are more in the foreground. Wouldn't do that with the ones that are in the back there. I'm gonna make this one a little wider. Just so you can see here, we're in a snowy bank. Here we go. Should I put one more tree there? I'm actually gonna brush this out a little bit more because I don't love that. I did it, but I don't love it. There we go. I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do there. This is me debating. I think I'm just gonna leave this like this. It's simple, there's not too much happening. It's a beautiful forest. And you have made a lovely painting that you could use as a Christmas or holiday card if you wanted to. You could just hang it up, you could frame it. You just have a pretty little forest photo. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you made this yourself, tag me on Instagram @JenPachichi. I'd love to see it.